For the record, we are at Charlevoix Public Library in Charlevoix, Michigan. This is Tuesday, November 20th, 2007. We are working on the Charlevoix Oral Traditions Project. Videographer Rick Pierpont and interviewer Judith Ivan, who is the Assistant Adult Services Librarian at the Charlevoix Public Library.
What's the first thing you remember?
Growing up here.
Okay. Well, what was that like? Was there many people?
Oh, I don't know. It just seemed about everything keeps growing just like I did.
What did your father do? What kind of?
He was a pharmacist, same as I am.
Uh-huh. And how many? Was there several pharmacies then? Was that the only store?
No, there was. When he came here, I think there was 5 on the main street.
5 pharmacies?
Yeah.
Wow.
And when I started, there was just 2 pharmacies there.
So do you remember the soda fountains and things like that?
Oh yeah, I worked there.
You did? What was that like?
It was something to do and it was interesting.
Was there a lot of? Is that where the kids hang out?
Not too much. It's just
Uh-huh.
the resort trade in the summertime was.
So it was pretty much closed in the winter.
Yeah, we used to close the fountain in the winter.
Did you?
So how many people were here year round? Were there many?
Probably about 2,000, 2,500.
And what did you do in the winter?
Went to school.
Here?
Yeah, I watched this building being built. And, yeah, it was, winters were great then. We had snow.
Yeah.
Lots of snow.
What did you do in the winter? I mean, what type of things did you like to do in the winter?
When I was a kid, I just played like everybody else. Went sliding and so forth. There wasn't any traffic or anything. Streets weren't plowed.
Which hills did you slide down? Did you like?
Oh, I lived just down the street here. We used to go over where the old water tower was when I was a little kid.
Over by the channel there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you ever go out in the lake in the wintertime when it was frozen?
Go down there when there was ice caves and so forth and look around.
How far out had you gone?
Just along the shore at that time, because usually there's always water there. Freeze out a little bit and then it'd go away and freeze out and go away.
So even as a child, you remembered that inconsistency.
Oh yeah. And when I was probably in high school, I can still remember the fish tugs working out of here, some in the winter. And they used to break the ice, go out.
Did you work with the ice ever? Did you ever?
No.
Did you go out and see them when they were doing the cutting and things?
When they cut ice, used to cut ice on Lake Charlevoix, yeah. That was, used to ship ice to Grand Rapids at one time.
How did they ship it?
By rail,
By rail?
yeah.
Did you ever take the train? Did you ever ride the train?
Not very far, Petoskey a couple times. No, we never went any place like that.
So it's changed completely.
We used, summertime, there was, the resort trains used to come in.
Right, so when that resort train came in, did the whole area change?
Oh yeah, most of the resort trade years ago was, they'd come up for the summer and then weekends the wage earner would come up and on the train, but there was train every morning out of Chicago, usually about during the summer, then an afternoon train.
Okay.
I don't know, it's just, don't have any of that anymore.
No, we don't have the trains, that's for sure.
And a lot of the resort trade came in on boats when I was young. You'd ship their cars on the boat and then,
So they had pretty good sized boats that came.
oh yeah,
Ships that came
yeah.
in.
We used to, when I first started working in the drugstore, we used to get our freight from Chicago overnight.
Wow.
Wow, I'm from the boat.
Yeah,
Wow.
leave, get get the order in the afternoon and have it the next morning.
Wow.
Did it come up several times a week or
It was every day.
every day?
Well, see, no. I think it was 3 times a week. Yeah, 3 times a week.
Did you ever take a ship across?
No, we used, once in a while, we go to Mackinac Island on it.
Uh-huh.
A day trip.
So what was your feeling about the resorters that came up here? Did
It
you?
was always interesting.
Mhm.
It was a different, they lived different than they, on the north side of town was, most all those resorters had their chauffeurs and their maids and,
Did the kids play with you when you were growing up though?
oh yeah,
Yeah, I mean, the kids were kids though, right?
kids are always kids.
Right.
Yeah, and a lot of the chauffeurs and maids were colored people, and they had their own nightclub, which was a lively place,
Where was that nightclub?
right across from where the drugstore is downtown.
Really?
Yeah, there was a building there. Originally, it was a kind of a department store, Mason's department store, and then there was a grocery, had groceries and so forth. And then there was a dry goods store, and the back half was separate. And, the colored people had that. That was a regular nightclub.
Did you ever sneak in?
I never did, no.
Ah,
But Thursdays was great.
This was
That was their day off, and you should see those women the way they dressed and the men.
to the nines.
And usually the people they worked for gave them the car for the day. So
So that would have been where East Park is now,
yeah, right
right across
corner
from-
of Clinton Street there.
right on the corner of Clinton. So
On the-
you
but-
must have been around and remember when there were buildings all across
Oh,
the
yeah.
front there.
Yeah.
What kinds of businesses were in that block?
Oh, there's a lot of different ones I don't know. There's tailor shops. There's Mr. Goldstick had a shoe repair there. And there's summertime, there's a colored man that had a hat, shoe shining hats. He blocked hats. That's when they used to wear felt hats and they blocked them. Grocery store along there, the hotel.
What's that?
The hotel burned down and that's when the park started.
Okay.
They had a big vacant lot and they started the park then.
Do you happen to remember the year the hotel burned?
Yeah, I think it was 32 or 33, I'm not sure.
Okay.
I stood upstairs in the drugstore and watched it burn.
Yeah.
so when you were going to school here, how many kids were in your class?
I don't know. When I graduated, it was even 50.
Oh, wow. There you go.
I remember that.
Yeah.
And had most of them been here the whole time or?
Oh, it changed.
It changed.
Yeah. Probably in grade school there wasn't near that many because country school still had grades.
Yeah. Grade school, so you combine.
And
Yeah.
it probably is I think it was about the 7th or 8th grade where everything came into town. The Catholic school and everything
Right.
started
Came in.
downtown. There were two schools on one on the north side and one on the south side grade schools too.
Really?
The American Legion Hall, you know,
Yeah.
that was the Lincoln School.
Oh.
And there's one just like it over where used to be the credit union. I guess this is a lawyer across from the grocery store there.
Okay, up on
Yeah, on
31.
that corner there was another school just like it, the Washington School.
Okay. The Lincoln and the Washington, named after two presidents, it
Yeah.
sounds like.
Yeah.
Well, your family's been in business in Charlevoix for, generations now.
My dad came here in 1914 and
Okay. As a pharmacist,
Yeah.
yeah. Why do you think you've lasted when so many people come and go and come and go?
Haven't any idea. Didn't know anything else to do.
Because that's pretty impressive, you know, there's lots of,
Yeah, the store's been down there. Dad bought it later, but he been there since 1897. It's right on that same corner.
Because Charlevoix's gone through some ups and downs.
Oh yeah.
And right after the war, did it go down a little bit, or?
I don't remember.
Oh, okay, but you don't remember.
It stayed about the same.
Yeah.
It was a resort town mostly. It was after the war before you saw any little factories around there or anything like that. Other than that, it was a fishing community for years.
Right. Did it change much once we had the factories here? Did more people?
No,
Not that.
I don't know. I don't think it
I don't think it did. No.
gave a little more work for people. A lot of times people just worked summers
Yeah,
and they had a hard time in the winter.
yeah. What did they do in the winter?
I haven't any idea. Shoveled snow a lot of times.
Sometimes, yeah.
So were you in the war?
Yeah, I was in the Navy. I was on shore duty all the time in
Did you,
hospitals.
were you drafted or
No, I enlisted.
you enlisted? How did that come about?
I don't know. The war came up and I decided I should do it. I think
Where did you go to enlist?
I went down to Detroit to enlist. In January of 42.
Okay.
And then where did you do your training?
They put me through boot camp, and I was a pharmacist, and they gave me a rating at the time, but they put me through boot camp in Rhode Island. Yeah, boot camp was 3 weeks, then they got you to work. And then I worked in the hospital. I worked in the dispensary at the boot camp, and then I worked in the hospital and was on shore there. And from there, I was shipped overseas to a base in British Isles.
Okay.
Were you there the whole time?
I was there until, I don't know, January of 45. And then they transferred me to Great Lakes, and then they transferred me to Pensacola. I got out then, in October.
So you worked in hospitals then in
Yeah.
British Isles?
Mm-hmm.
And helped them, and did pharmaceutical duties all the time?
No, I was everything.
Were you? Everything,
Everything but the operating room.
okay. Okay.
I worked surgical wards a lot.
Can you remember one of the things that you did or a patient you helped that was a really wonderful outcome, really positive, you felt great about? Anything come to mind?
Yeah, I had so many of them, I know. I remember one little young kid. He was 17 years old and came into the surgical ward. He'd been torpedoed 3 times in 6 hours. And he came in with a broken back. Put him in a cast. He never complained of a thing. He was just the happiest kid just to be alive, I guess.
Still alive, yeah. Do you know what his outcome was? Was he ever,
Oh, when we shipped him back, he was on his feet, and
was he?
Wow.
Wow. So that was pretty positive
Yeah.
outcome. He wasn't paralyzed
no,
at all. Wow.
we had him cast from hips to the neck, and
Was it an active hospital? Did you get a lot of people through? Or?
well, it was kind of a little dispensary. It was on a base that changed. Well, the base changed every time something in the war changed.
Right.
It was a amphibious base. We sent half our crew to the African invasion, and then we had a submarine base there. And then when the D-Day came, we fitted out hospital ships there. So it just keeps changing.
Right. But you were at the same hospital? though?
Same place. It was just a small one.
Right.
I think we had 120 beds or something.
Okay. Did you get to know any of the local people there when you were there? Or
Oh yeah, lots of them.
what was that like?
I enjoyed it.
What did you do? Did you go to pubs or did you go
Oh
out
yeah,
to dinner?
yeah. You'd meet different people. They were very friendly.
How did you like British food?
Well, I didn't eat much. We had our own food on the base, but at the time the British didn't have much
Okay. To share.
to share now.
Yeah.
They didn't.
Did the war affect you for the rest of your life? Or,
I couldn't say it did. Life kept going. You just keep going, that's all.
When you went away and visited those other places during the war, did it just make you feel more comfortable about coming back here?
Really, you didn't think about it.
Or? Okay.
You know, people have asked me that during the war. Your mind was in a different place all the time. I mean, your life is today's today. Maybe tomorrow I'll be here,
Right. Okay.
and that's about the way you thought. And
Okay.
you didn't
Didn't look
plan ahead. You didn't.
Okay.
I didn't anyway.
Yeah.
And when it was over, it came home.
That sounds like that's the way that worked best for you to cope with the situation, to deal with the,
It's the only way you could.
yeah.
You just had to. You knew you were going to live that way till it was over, and
Yeah.
if you made it, fine.
you made it.
You made it.
And I don't know. You had to live that way, I guess, to know what it was like.
Yeah.
We still do today, somewhat. Yeah. Nobody knows what tomorrow's going to bring.
No, that's for sure. You know, there should be more history made of these other wars and things.
Mm-hmm.
You go to school today, how much do you think history they get at World War II in school?
Not much. They don't have any idea. Yeah.
Two pages. They're forgetting
Right. We want to
forgetting the best part of what makes this country.
Right.
So what about the Coast Guard here in Charlevoix? You know the history of that at all?
Oh, yeah, a little bit.
How's that work?
That was originally, when I was younger, it wasn't Coast Guard, it was a life-saving station. And right up on the beach, just behind the fish hatchery there,
Right.
they had this station, and you've probably seen the pictures of it with us.
Did you ever know anybody who worked and went out and on a rescue?
Yeah.
Yeah. When you were younger, or
Oh, when I was in high school.
in high school? And
Were
I'm
there
trying
any
to think
shipwrecks or something? Or?
And I think there's one of my classmates in high school, his father was down there, Kilderhouse, the name was. And it just came to me. I was trying to think. They go on, I don't know, can't think of any. Of course, when the ice floe went back in the 30s there with 3 men on it, they remember them taking the boat out then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, did many people get stuck on the ice that were out there?
There was, the one I'm thinking of, there's three fishermen out there fishing in the ice. Only one of them lived through it.
Oh.
really?
The others were lost.
So when the Coast Guard came, and we've had that thing here for a long time, I know during the war they activated
It
it.
was just before the war when they changed it to the Coast Guard, if I remember, from the life-saving station.
Okay.
You had to change uniforms and everything. And the life-saving stations, and then there was the buoy tenders. They were thinking the life-saving too, and they became Coast Guard.
So they were separate before?
Yeah, they were
life-saving?
separate.
They were separate, and then buoy tenders?
Buoy tenders had life savings on it, or maybe he was same organization as the life savings unit, but then they all were changed into the Coast Guard.
Coast Guard. Did that help stability of Charlevoix through the winter time, the Coast Guard being here? Did it have much impact?
The original when it was down here, there's probably just a dozen people lived, a dozen men there.
So you came back and just kind of
Yeah,
went right into, did you go to work with your family then?
I went back to work at the store after I got out. Been there ever since.
And you still go in occasionally, don't you?
Well, I'm there every morning.
Every morning. yeah.
I'm there till noon.
What do you like about it?
I haven't any idea. It's just part of life.
It's just part of it. Okay.
Just do it.
Just do it.
You got to have something to do. I wouldn't want to quit.
Right.
It gets me up in the morning, and
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'd do if I didn't have someplace to go like that.
Yeah.
Have your employees changed much over the years?
Entirely different.